as you start to see the how complex the value chains increase, we're starting to see some consistent themes. And they are not isolated. They're very connected because ultimately determines how your business continuity is, competitiveness is, and profitability is. There are kind of 4 themes that we hear typically from customers like you. First one's around optimizing production. Think about moving away from large-scale production to more customization, where customers are asking for more personalized products, which means that you now, as a manufacturer, need to be more agile and go from large volume production to more small, flexible batch production. IT/OT integration. There's a statistic in here that says 93% of the executives think digital transformation is critical. Now, IT and OT integration is easier said than done, especially when you think about IT/OT integration. You're starting to think about bringing in open architectures. Think IIoT, think cloud platforms. Especially, it does require a different mindset because you're now starting to think about how your manufacturing asset can be like an IT asset. Even the life cycle of that IT asset should be mirrored to our manufacturing assets. Workforce shortages. It's a projected you're going to have about 2 million jobs unfulfilled by 2027. Now, all of these automation and digital tools are not replacing any workers. What they're intended to do is reduce the burden of understaffed teams, increasing productivity. Additionally, when you think about autonomous operations, all it does is helps you kind of reduce that manual intervention. How can you speed up onboarding? How can you increase usability of the products? Lastly, regulatory compliance. They're not anymore like a legal obligation or a checkbox. Non-compliance means you're going to halt your operations. Non-compliance, worse, you're not going to be able to take some of our newer technologies that are coming in and actually increase your efficiency. So across the board, these are like foundational to staying competitive. I'm going to kickstart with some of the things we're doing foundationally. So when you think about modern automation, modern manufacturing, we start to think about it in 3 main key pillars. One is, how can I simplify production environments? What does that actually mean? It's kind of more, think about it as bringing in unified architectures, more modular design. Unified architectures could mean a single platform. Let's take example, Logix. Logix is a multidiscipline controller. It can bring in controls, safety, process, all in a single platform. And as you want to be more flexible and you want to scale up or down, you can start to become more software defined and get after hardware-software independence. And lastly, you want to think about like, how can I update? How can I patch? Make that easier and across at a large scale. What that enables you to do is it reduces system complexity, it shortens the commissioning times, and lastly, you can adapt to different architectures. It could be a batch, it could be a hybrid, it could be a process system. They all are using one single architecture or a unified architecture. The next one's mitigate risk. Typically, when we think about mitigate risk, we are thinking about safety, but we've kind of evolved more than safety right now. Now we're talking about safety. We're talking about cybersecurity. We're talking about ESG, which is the environmental, societal governance. So as you think about all of this, we're starting to think about how do we bring some of those into our products, integrate into our products, so it's not something you deploy after it's installed. When you think about what that means to the product, you're going to start seeing more cybersecurity implementations within our devices. Think encrypted comms. Functional safety integration. Now, we've been doing integrated safety for a number of years already, whether it's in the controller devices like Armor, PowerFlex, Kinetics. And lastly, data insights from ESG. So what this essentially means is those environmental sustainable impacts could be at the cloud, at the edge. Think information like energy consumption, emissions, sometimes even material traceability along the entirety of the manufacturing line. And lastly, removing boundaries, accelerating outcomes. This is kind of more focused around how do you kind kind of go away from hardware-tied automation to more software. What that essentially brings in is lends itself nicely to how do I leverage the cloud to do more? How do I make it more collaborative? The second one is around open APIs, application interfaces, computing, because now you can scale it down more faster so you can bring it closer to the control layer to do more things in real time. And lastly, automation is asset management. So you have more device visibility. You can bring diagnostics. What that enables you to do is you're now able to do changes, updates more in real time. So now you're getting that continuous improvement life cycles. And if you are in the IT world, it's very similar or akin to DevOps, but in kind of more of an industrial environment. I'll start with saying keeping it simple is pretty much the DNA of what Rockwell Automation does. We kind of aim to make our automation systems much simpler. And one of the things we do and how we do that is essentially by unifying some of our processes. So taking down multiple processes and collapsing them into a single environment. And now you can integrate IIoT information, whether it's virtual reality, augmented reality, start to think about fully simulating an entire machine, a drive, a system, a controller in a virtual setting. And if you're users who deploy the system and you determine that you want to make changes or optimization, you can do that virtually, make sure that optimization actually works for you before you actually ever implement it. The other one is around edge computing. Edge computing has kind of greatly become more scalable over the last couple of years, which means we're starting to see compute more closer to the control layer. Why that's important? Now you're able to run things like business logic, applications, containerized applications that you might own more closer to the control layer where decisions are actually made. So you can bring in things like vision, machine learning. There are a lot of modern tools that we can take advantage of in the automation systems. I mean, obviously, one of the things I will say is you have a lot of machines that have been deployed there for years. One of the things we do very well as we think about new products is ensure that we kind of work and think carefully about some of the backward compatibility. So you have more of that natural way to modernize in more of a logical way as well. I'll talk a little bit about modern software and kind of introduce one of our newest offerings, FactoryTalk Design Studio. When you think about modern software, IT/OT convergence, they're kind of at the pivotal moment, essentially when you think about simulation, emulation. Now you're starting to do an entirety of it in like a virtual world, because it's not anymore optional. You're actually doing virtual simulations so you can reduce risk. You can increase speed and accuracy. In the past, when you think about programming, you typically had a control engineer doing the control code. You had a visualization person kind of focusing on the visualization environment. And then they had to figure out how to collaborate with each other, because as you think about a system, there is multiple people coming in together. As you think about leveraging cloud-based software, that lends itself very nicely, because you can collaborate at a given point with multiple people and accelerate some of the timelines as well. Now, these are not just tools. They're actually strategies for how do you reduce cost, how do you accelerate timelines, because you're going to see systems, whether it's today or whatever you design in the future, starting to evolve and leverage some of these technologies as well. With that, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on what FactoryTalk Design Studio is. FactoryTalk Design Studio is our cloud-native software environment, design environment. Certainly, with it being in cloud, there's a number of advantages that we have. I'll kind of talk about the three tenets that we typically highlight when we talk about FactoryTalk Design Studio. One, it's modern. Why is it modern? When you think about it, it's in cloud. It's available to you anytime, anywhere. When you think about an on-prem release, for example, Studio 5000, you get a yearly release year after year. With FactoryTalk Design Studio, and it being in the cloud, you're getting the latest revisions, and you're able to get it in a much faster cadence, because in fact, we do a cadence release every quarter. Now, we're starting to add capabilities like Copilot to kind of bring in generative AI into FactoryTalk Design Studio environment, which means now you can not only do code generation, you can do code optimization and code documentation as well to kind of improve efficiencies. The next one's around multi-user. This is kind of one of the benefits, I would say, about going to cloud. You're able to collaborate better. One of the things we do is we kind of brought in version control with a tool called Git. If you use VMware heavily, think of it as a VMware snapshot. Essentially, it allows you to kind of say who made the changes, what did they make the change on, what is the documentation or the change all about. And now you're able to check in, check out, commit to those changes, and you can do that all in the cloud. So you can have multiple users kind of collaborate more effectively. The last one is multiple controllers, multi-controller. You're able to bring in multiple Logix controllers because when you design a system, you're constantly adding to it. So the need to add more controllers is something that we're starting to support. Secondly, when you think about building a system, you're building it in a very logical way. You're not starting with what's my controller, what's my I/O. You're starting with your application. You're trying to identify how the system should be built. And once you're done with it, you're able to now, what we call is, use a process called call allocation, late binded to what the hardware is. What that enables you is to be abstracted from the hardware, focus on logically designing your software, and then kind of bringing in the hardware as needed as well. Smarter ways to mitigate risk. When we think about automation, typically automation's all about bringing in people, technology, and automation itself together. We've been kind of doing integrated safety meaningfully over the last couple of years. And one of the things we did is when you think about bringing control and safety in a single system, we're able to reduce the downtime that typically happens, and we are able to recover quickly. Example, our Logix controller now has control and integrated safety all built into one single controller. Cybersecurity. It's not just assessments. A big part of cybersecurity is the compliance. We're starting to see standards evolve across the globe, and it's going to continue. And our focus is how do we enable you to meet those compliance requirements and be efficient as well. And lastly, ESG. I think I talked about ESG a little bit further ago. ESG is not like a checkbox anymore. Customers like you are asking about our sustainability. Investors are asking us about it from a brand perspective. So we're starting to talk about how do we get those data insights from ESG. That is across the entire manufacturing cycle. So you know what the energy is, you know what the material traceability is. I'm going to take a couple of minutes here to talk about a little deep dive on what I call as security or zero trust. Now, when you think about zero trust, it's not a buzzword. It's not a cybersecurity buzzword. At Rockwell, we're actually taking cybersecurity zero trust architectures very seriously, which means that we're implementing zero trust architectures right up from the cloud to the edge to a device. And we're following a framework while doing it. And the framework they're following it is the NIST framework. There are a number of tenets to it. I'll kind of highlight a couple. First one is all communication is secured regardless of the location, which means that all devices should have encrypted communications. And think about it, recently we introduced more contemporary communications, OPC UA, MQTT. They're all required to be secured now. Access to resources is determined by dynamic policy. What that means is you're now going to have more role-based authentication. You're going to have an authentication profile. For example, your operator is we're going to understand the context of an operator. What do they have access to? What part of the system can they access to? Collect and analyze information. We're going to have tools inbuilt within the devices like syslog, system logging, that logs all of the security events. But we're also going to have analytical tools, whether it's Clarity, Dragos, that can help you understand more proactively some of the threat information. Access to resources on a per session basis. So if you do the concept of tokens with some of our software offerings, you're now going to have no access to those tokens once your session is over. So then you're kind of reducing the risk of somebody else accessing the tokens. And the last one's like the devices are in the most secure state possible. You'll hear this more commonly called out in many of our Rockwell products offering. We're starting to talk about how to use secure devices by default. So which means that when you do get a device, it's in the most safe state possible. It meets the compliance requirements. And if you don't want, and if you're essentially kind of focusing on how do you ensure you meet compliance, it will already be out of the box enabled for you. Now, whether it's security, whether it's cybersecurity, what's integrated safety, ESG, our focus is always being transparent, giving you that information so you have the confidence in our solutions, as well as some of the resilience that we've built into our products as well. I'm going to step out a little bit to talk about a new concept called software-defined automation. The focus is kind of abstracting software and hardware. And what that enables is it unlocks a bunch of different benefits, especially when it's logics, and you start moving away from having software-hardware independence. One is around time to market. We talked a little bit about how important it is to start having more IT-like management, IT-like tools. It allows us to start having management of our assets more IT-like, which means you can bring in things like continuous integration, continuous deployment principles. Now, obviously, many of you have number of plants, number of sites that you're constantly looking to update, patch. The ability to kind of do it at a fleet level, whether it's with Rockwell tools or whether you want to leverage some of the open tools that are already available in the market. So now software-defined automation is going to help enable that. Second is expanded disciplines. We're going to support the traditional disciplines you have, whether it's safety, process, but we're also going to start bringing in what we call as disruptive disciplines. This is, think about having those disciplines sitting right next to the control, things like vision, things like AI, machine learning. So those are some of the disruptive robotics. We're starting to bring some of those more closely tied with a control platform. The next one is open access to data. We are very much leading with Ethernet IP. We'll continue to do so, but we also acknowledge that as you have that IT-OT integration, you're starting to get requests around how do I bring in all of those contemporary communications close to the controller. So that is something that we want to continue to enable. Last one is industry-centric. When we have that hardware-software independence, we're now able to build form factors and scale it very easily. A good example would be if you're a life sciences customer, you could have an industrial PC in a clean room in one form factor. You could have an industrial PC with a GPU and a panel that kind of helps you kind of visualize differently. And you could have a PLC in a full filling station. Now, all three of these form factors are different, but underneath, the architecture will be identical. And the tooling and the programming that you would use will also be the same, allowing you to go from one form factor to the other more seamlessly. When we think about logics, when we think about software-defined automation, we're starting to unlock more of that flexible operation. And especially as you want to scale up and down, we can tailor it to your application, kind of bringing some agility, whether things like vision, things like AI-driven models, start to kind of bring in more seamlessly integrated with logics as well. And lastly, I'm going to come back to the slide that I kicked off with. Talked about all of these challenges. A lot of these challenges are real. You can acknowledge that, whether it's optimized production, integration, or workforce shortages. What I'm hoping you take away is this morning, as you kind of we talked through how Rockwell's posture is and how we're addressing it. And throughout the day, you're going to start to see how we're not just responding to those challenges, but more proactively kind of bringing those solutions forward as well.